Let's get one thing clear right from the start. When a woman suddenly becomes warm, affectionate, and deeply engaged, then pulls back without explanation, it's almost never random. It's not confusion, it's not mood swings, and it's definitely not something that just happens. What most men experience as hot and cold behavior is actually a moment of evaluation. And this is where most men get it wrong. The average man assumes he must have done something wrong. So he panics. He starts overthinking every message, every word, every pause. He sends extra texts. He explains himself. He tries to win back attention with reassurance, compliments, or emotional appeals. In doing so, he unknowingly destroys the very attraction he's trying to save. Here's the uncomfortable truth most men are never taught. When a woman pulls back, she's not only reacting to the situation, she's observing you. She's watching how you handle emotional pressure. She's checking whether you remain grounded in yourself or whether you collapse the moment her attention wavers. Attraction doesn't disappear because of one wrong move. It fades when a man loses his emotional center, when he treats her approval like oxygen instead of a choice. This video is not about manipulation or playing childish games. It's about self-mastery. It's about understanding how attraction responds to calm strength, emotional control, and purpose-driven men. If you've ever felt confused, frustrated, or powerless when faced with hot and cold behavior, this is where that confusion ends. When hot and cold behavior begins, your first instinct will almost always be emotional reaction. Silence feels personal. Distance feels like rejection. Your mind immediately starts searching for explanations, and before you realize it, you're responding instead of thinking. This is the moment where most men lose control of the situation. Reacting emotionally hands over all the power. The moment your mood starts rising and falling based on her behavior, you've placed her in control of your emotional state. Double texting, asking for reassurance, or trying to fix the situation may feel natural, but it communicates insecurity far louder than words ever could. The alternative is observation. Becoming an observer means you slow everything down. You don't confront, you don't accuse, you don't explain yourself unnecessarily. Instead, you pay attention. You notice patterns without attaching emotion to them. You study what triggers warmth, what triggers distance, and how frequently the shifts occur. Think of it this way. A man who reacts is like a defendant constantly trying to prove his innocence. A man who observes is like a detective quietly collecting information. One is emotionally exposed, the other is in control. Here's a simple example. You send a message in the morning, and she doesn't respond until late at night with a short reply. The reactive man immediately feels dismissed and responds with frustration or neediness. The observant man does nothing. He replies calmly, without urgency, and continues with his day. He doesn't bring it up. He doesn't change his tone. He simply notes it. Over time, this approach reveals the truth. You begin to see whether her behavior is situational, emotional, or consistent. More importantly, you remain emotionally steady throughout the process. That steadiness sends a powerful signal. It tells her that her unpredictability doesn't control you. Most men unknowingly feed hot and cold behavior by reacting to it. When you refuse to take the bait, the dynamic changes. Curiosity replaces certainty. And curiosity is where attraction often begins to rebuild. When a woman starts pulling away, most men do the exact opposite of what works. They lean in harder, they text more often, call more frequently, suggest extra meetups, and offer reassurance they were never asked for. In their mind, they're showing effort. In reality, they're rewarding distance with attention. This response is driven by fear, not confidence. Pulling back does not mean becoming cold, passive-aggressive, or emotionally unavailable. It means adjusting your level of investment to match the reality of the situation. If she creates space, you respect it. You don't rush to close it for her. Here's the key principle. Never give more attention to someone who is giving you less. Doing so reverses value. It places you in a position of seeking approval rather than offering presence. Pulling back looks subtle, but it's powerful. You respond without urgency. You don't initiate unnecessary conversations. If plans are canceled, you don't immediately reschedule. You allow silence to exist without trying to fill it. Not as a tactic, but as a reflection of self-respect. Many men have been conditioned to believe that persistence is masculine, that trying harder proves value. But there's a difference between persistence and neediness. Persistence is pursuing someone who is engaged. Neediness is chasing someone who is withdrawing. A man who values himself does not compete for attention that should be freely given. When you pull back calmly, the dynamic begins to shift. She notices the absence of pressure. She feels the change in energy. Instead of feeling pursued, she feels space, and space invites reflection. This is often the moment where she starts wondering what changed, why you're less available, why you're not reacting the way she expected. That uncertainty works in your favor, not because you're manipulating, but because you're no longer over-investing. Pulling back is not about control. It's about balance. You're showing, through action, that your life continues with or without constant validation. And when a woman sees that her distance doesn't destabilize you, respect begins to return. If there is one reason men consistently lose attraction during hot and cold phases, it's this. They allow the woman to become the center of their emotional world. Their mood depends on her replies. Their confidence rises and falls with her attention. Over time, this creates pressure, even if nothing is said out loud. Attraction cannot survive emotional dependence. Replacing attachment with purpose does not mean ignoring her or acting as if she doesn't matter. It means shifting your primary focus back to something that exists independently of her approval. Your purpose is the foundation of your identity. It's what gives your life direction, momentum, and meaning. This purpose can take many forms. It might be your career, a business you're building, your fitness goals, creative work, or a personal mission that challenges you daily. What matters is that it demands discipline, effort, and growth. When your life is centered around growth, you naturally stop over-investing in one person. Men often abandon their purpose when they enter relationships. They skip the gym, delay goals, and rearrange their entire schedule around availability. At first, this looks like commitment. Over time, it looks like loss of self, and that loss is felt, even if it's never spoken. When you return your focus to your mission, everything changes. Your time becomes valuable. Your energy becomes grounded. Your presence becomes stronger. You're no longer waiting for messages or overthinking interactions. You're moving forward. This forward motion is deeply attractive because it communicates confidence without effort. You're not asking to be chosen. You're inviting someone to walk alongside you. When a woman senses that your life is full, dynamic, and directed, curiosity returns naturally. Not because you chased it, but because you stopped orbiting her attention. A man with purpose sends a clear message through his actions. You are welcome in my life, but you are not the reason for it. That message creates respect, and respect is what allows attraction to last. At the core of every hot and cold situation is a simple but uncomfortable distinction: neediness versus self-respect. Most men don't lose attraction because they care too much. They lose it because their care turns into emotional dependence. Neediness shows up quietly. It looks like waiting for replies to feel calm. It sounds like explaining yourself when no explanation was asked for. It feels like anxiety when attention fades. None of this is intentional, but all of it communicates the same message. I need your validation to feel secure. Self-respect communicates the opposite. It says, I enjoy your presence, but I don't require it to remain grounded. This difference is felt instantly. One creates pressure, the other creates safety. When a woman senses that you need her more than she needs you, the dynamic becomes unbalanced. She feels responsible for your emotional state, even if she never agreed to be. Attraction struggles to survive under that weight. Self-respect doesn't mean detachment. It means emotional independence. You can be interested without being invested beyond reason. You can care without collapsing when uncertainty appears. This shift is not something you say, it's something you embody. Through calm responses, through balanced effort, through a life that continues moving forward regardless of who is watching. The moment you stop seeking reassurance and start standing firmly in yourself, the entire dynamic changes. You are no longer chasing attention. You are allowing connection to happen naturally, and that is where real attraction begins.